Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you all are keeping well. I welcome you all on the platform Don't Memorize, just clear the concept. Today we are going to start our new chapter, that is squares and square roots. This is the introductory video lesson, and after having this video lesson you would be able to know the meaning of squares. You would be able to know the meaning of square roots. You would be able to know how to find the square root with an innovative way. So without wasting much time, let's get started. Hello friends, today we are going to start our next chapter, that is chapter number 6. It is squares and square roots. Squaring of a number is a simple process which can be defined as multiplying a number by itself. Thus, for example, if we multiply 3 with 3, we said to have squared the number 3. If we multiply 4 by 4, we said to have squared the number 4. We represent square by putting a small 2 on the right upper corner of any number, where a is any number to be squared. For example, if we have to find out the square of 5, how do we represent it? By putting a small 2 on the right upper corner of 5. Now, 5 multiplied by 5 gives us 25, means we have squared the number 5. This method of squaring a number stands true for any number in mathematics. So, let us find squares of first 10 natural numbers. Here, I have given the squares of 10 natural numbers. 1 multiplied by 1 means 1 square is equal to 1. 2 square is equal to 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. 3 square means 3 multiplied by 3 is equal to 9. 4 square is equal to 16. Square of 5 is equal to 25. Square of 6 means 6 multiplied by 6 is equal to 36. Square of 7 means 7 multiplied by 7 is equal to 49. Square of 8 is equal to 64. 9 multiplied by 9 is equal to 81. And 10 multiplied by 10 is equal to 100. Now, 10 multiplied by 10 is equal to 100. Means we have squared the number 10. But now, if we have 100, we can write it as 10 multiplied by 10. It means square root of 100 is 10. Let us understand by one more example. This time we have number 49. We can write 49 as 7 multiplied by 7, which means the square root of 49 is 7. So, from the above discussion, we can deduct that square root is the inverse of square. The symbol of square root is this, and it is represented as under root of x, where x is any number whose square root is to be calculated. Now, when we have to find out the square root of 100, we write it as. Now, let us understand what is a perfect square. A perfect square is the result of multiplying any number by itself, or we can say it is the product of same integer with itself. For example, 16 is a perfect square number, since it can be written as 4 multiplied by 4. 25 is a perfect square number, since it can be written as 5 multiplied by 5. 169 is also a perfect square, since it can be written as 13 multiplied by 13. Now, look at the table. Here, the number 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81 and 100 all are perfect squares, because these numbers are obtained by multiplying a number by itself. Now, let us learn how to find out the square roots with an innovative method. Observe this table. This table indicates that if any square number whose square root is needed to be calculated ends with 1. If any square number whose square root is needed to be calculated ends with 1, the square root of that number will end in 1 or 9. Now, let us see an example. For example, the square root of 121 is equal to 11. That ends in 1. And square root of 81 is equal to 9. That ends in 9. So, for further testing, you can try any other number. Now, let us observe the second column of the table. It indicates that if any number ends with 4, whose square root is needed to be calculated. The square root will end in 2 or 8. The square root will end in 2 or 8. Observing the third column, we got that if any square number ends with 9, its square root will end in 3 or 7. For example, 169 is the square of 13, means 13 is the square root of 169 and it is ending with the number 3. So, we can clearly see that it is ending with number 3. Now, observing the fourth column, it indicates that if any number ending with 6, its square root will end in 4 and 6. The next column indicates that if any square number whose square root is needed to be calculated ends with 5, the square root of that number will end in 5 only. Observing the last column, we got that if any square number whose square root is needed to be calculated ends with 0, the square root of that number will end in 0 only. From the above discussion, we can conclude it in a table. Here it is the last digit of a square and the last digit of the square root. Now, from the above discussion, we have got that if the last digit of the square is 1, the last digit of the square root will be 1 or 9. If the last digit of the square is 4, the last digit of the square root will be 2 or 8. If the last digit of the square is 9, the last digit of the square root will be 3 or 7. If the last digit of the square is 6, the last digit of the square root will be 6 or 4. If the last digit of the square is 5, the last digit of the square root will be 5. And if the last digit of the square is 0, the last digit of the square root will be 0 only. Now, observe the left column. It reads the last digit of a square and the number contained in this column are 1, 4, 9, 6, 5 and 0. We can easily observe that numbers 2, 3, 7 and 8 are missing in the column. It means that no perfect square ends in 2, 3, 7, and 8. So, we can conclude that any number ending with 2, 3, 7 and 8 can never be a perfect square. Any number ending with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 might be a perfect square, but only if it can be represented as the product of itself. Now, from the above observation, we have learnt how to find the unit place of a square root of any number. However, we can see two possibilities at some steps. Now, in the next part, we will learn how to remove the second possibility and get a correct and full number of square root. We will solve some problems, we will take some examples and everything will be cleared. Let us take a square number, that is 729, whose square root is needed to be calculated. Step 1 is, first of all, we will observe the last digit of the number. It is 9. From the table, we can see that any number ending with 9, its square root will end only in 3 or 7. Now, in the second step, we will find out that where the 729 lies in the square table. This is the square table and we will observe where does 729 lies. For this, we converted the same table into multiples of tens. Here we have written the square of 10. 10 multiplied by 10 is equal to 100. 20 multiplied by 20 is equal to 400. 30 multiplied by 30 is equal to 900 and so on. From the table, we can see that it would lie between 400 and 900, which are the squares of 20 and 30 respectively. So, the possible outcomes between 20 and 30 are 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 and 29. But from the first step, we know that the last digit of the square root can be only 3 or 7. So, we will strike out all the numbers except the two ending with 3 or 7. So, we are left with only two numbers. Here we are left with two possibilities, that is 23 and 27. Now, in the last step, we will observe that 729 is nearer to which number? Is it nearer to 400 or is it closer to 900? If it is closer to 400, we will keep 23 as our right answer. If it is closer to 900, we will keep 27 as our answer. Now, we can clearly see that it is closer to 900. So, we will keep 27 as our answer and reject the answer, the other possibility, that is 23. So, we got the square root of 729 is equal to 27. Do not worry if you do not understand in one example. We will solve some more examples for better understanding. Let us take one more example. This time we have to find out the square root of 1764. For the very first step, we will observe the last digit of the number. Observing the last digit, which is 4, it indicates that last digit of the square root will be either 2 or 8. Now, we will find that where it lies in the square table. Observing the table, we got that 1764 will lie between 1600 and 2500, which are the squares of 40 and 50 respectively. So, the possible outcomes between 40 and 50 are 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. But from the above discussion, we know that the square root will end in 2 or 8 only. So, we will strike all other numbers, leaving 42 and 48. So, now we are left with only two possibilities, that is 42 and 48. Now, we have to observe that 1764 is nearer to which number? Is it closer to 1600 or closer to 2000 or 500? We can clearly see that it is closer to 1600, which is the square of 40. So, we will keep the number 42 and will reject the number 48 because it is nearer to the square of 40. So, the square root of 1764 is equal to 42. Now, what about if we encounter with more bigger numbers? Let us take an example. This time we have to find out the square root of 15,625. Observing the last digit of the number, we find that the last digit of the square root will end only in 5. Now, we have to analyze where it lies in the square table. Analyzing the table, we got that it is not there. So, now we need to extend our table. This table is up to the square of 100. Now, we extended our table to 110, 120. The square of 120 would be 120 multiplied by 120. 130, 140 and 150. Observing the table, we can see that 15,625 lies between 14,400 and 16,900. That is between the squares of 120 and 130 respectively. So, the possible outcomes of the right answer are 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128 and 129. But from the first observation, we know that the last digit of the square root will end only in 5. So, here the only number ending in 5 is 125. So, we will strike out all other possibilities. So, we will take 125 as our answer. So, square root of 15,626 will be 125. Dear students, it is all for today. I hope you must have enjoyed this innovative method of finding the square roots. We will learn to find the square roots by prime factorization method also. But for today, it is over. In the last, I am giving you 2 sums which you have to solve yourself. After giving them a try, you can check your answers. So, for now, bye-bye. See you soon in the next lecture. Till then, keep growing, keep learning. Bye-bye and take care.